We talking about it today. You guys know what it is. You read the title. We don't need to go into much more than that. Microsoft, at one point in time, I think it was like 2021, 2020, at the end of 2020. I don't know. It was Phil Spencer sending acquisition fillers out. You guys, pretty much what that indicates is it's like, look, Phil Spencer at one point in time thought that Sega would be a very good purchase by them. And he pretty much sent everyone that would be involved in making a deal like that pretty much an email that's saying, look, these are the reasons why I feel like we should buy Sega. And it's interesting. So let's go into the reasons. All right, hold up. I'm probably going to have to switch this real quick. You know, we do it on the fly. That's fine. All right, so let's... First off, shout out to Windows Central, man. I'll put the article in the description. You know, let's talk about that. But let's blow this up a little bit. So this is from Phil Spencer, Amy Hood. I don't know who that is. Obviously, the CEO. You know, there's a bunch of different people in this thread that this belongs to. I'm writing to you to request strategy approval to approach Sega Sammy regarding potential acquisition of their Sega gaming studios. For context, Bill and I have reviewed the business case for acquiring Sega and are both supportive. I don't know who Bill is. We'll have to... Someone in the comment section, if you know who he's referring to as Bill, put it in there. We believe that Sega has built a well-balanced portfolio of games across segments of global geographic appeal and help us accelerate Xbox Game Pass both on and off console. So they're pretty much talking about PC as well. Please keep the attached memo and bullets above for a detailed, a brief overview of the Sega gaming portfolio and the drive for the potential. What's interesting about this is it says, please keep the overview above. So we're not getting some memo that's at the top unless he's talking about this. I don't know what this is on. As the Sega gaming studios are owned by Sega Sammy, a publicly traded Japanese company, we have called out a few comments in the memo. Sega Gaming has represented roughly half of Sega Sammy's revenue and operation cost income of $900 million to $60 and $90 million of operational costs. In each Sega Sammy's last 3 financial years, the team is coordinating closer with CNO in the few steps. If we were to receive, I don't know what SA stands for. We're not really going to go too much into that. You guys know what I'm talking about. This is just pretty much going over what I'm seeing on the internet. Well, this thing, you know, it's like, 'cause I'm going to put it in the comment section below the description. So you guys definitely go shout out to Jess Gordon. I'm pretty sure he's the one that wrote this. You know, we'll zoom up a little bit. Yeah, Jess Gordon. All right. For those of you that know, you know, I've been a huge supporter of them buying Sega. A lot of people were like, well, Addict, I don't think that's possible because of, like, they're a Japanese company. There's a lot of restrictions when outside entities are buying Japanese companies. And, you know, especially with the government, the Japanese government has a lot of precautions in place to make sure foreign entities don't do hostile takeovers. But I'm not a lawyer. Clearly, you have to go over there, hit up, you know, Hogue. But the way that it's described in here is they're not buying the Sega Sammy, because Sega Sammy, the Sammy people, they make like the betting machines and stuff. It seems like that's the people who own all of Sega. It doesn't seem like they're going to try to buy them like they did ZeniMax. You know, they bought ZeniMax, the mother studio, well, the parent company of Bethesda, which eventually, you know, trickled down to them owning all of it. Now, the question is does this mean that they're still interested in the company eventually? I think there's a lot of things that goes into play that says that this could still happen. I've been told behind closed doors that they never stop these conversations. And another thing that's interesting is the fact that how close these games have came with the Xbox brand. We just got the Persona games all on Game Pass. The 2 new Persona games, they're coming to Game Pass day and date. Their brand new IP has been revealed on an Xbox stage. I think that speaks a lot. I think that speaks a lot. I think that Microsoft really needs Sega. I think they need them more than anything. Maybe, conversations die down when they had these conversations and they're not able to really, find a good middle ground. But the interesting part is just how close they have been with, their company in general. Maybe instead of buying them, they have came to a bunch of, Game Pass deals. But I would say when you have a type of relationship that it seems like Sega and Microsoft has, it's easier to do that last push. We've been working together. That's what happened with Bethesda. We've been working together for a long time. Let's just tie the knot. I don't know how well Sammy's doing without Sega. He did say that the gaming portion of Sammy is roughly half of what they make. So it's going to be a substantial amount of money to get this. I think they said like 10 years worth of profit is what you're supposed to offer companies on top of what the actual company's worth. So I would say it would be a couple billion to buy Sega. I just don't. If it is there is a possibility that after the Activision deal, they're not going to want to jump out the gate with another publisher. But part of me feels like the thing that's going to really determine this is how Japan feels about if they try to buy Sega off of Sammy. And I don't know if the FTC and, the CMA and them would have a whole lot of issues with it because it's not really related and it's not a huge entity in the industry. Activision's different. Activision makes them so much money. That's a huge price point. They're probably going to want their handout for that. But when it comes to Sega, I'm curious if they could actually pull this off. I'm curious if they can buy Sega after the Activision deal goes through. There's always a chance that Microsoft doesn't want the headache of bidding on another publisher and have to go through all this process again. But part of me thinks that they did come out there, made a commitment to buy Sega off of Sammy. I don't think there's going to be a lot of waves like it was for Activision. I think for the most part, especially if the ABK deal fails, I would say they're buying Sega and maybe another smaller publisher on Sega's level. I would say that they're going to reinvest some of that money that didn't go to Activision. Not all of it, but they're going to reinvest some of it into companies like Sega. And I would say that if the ABK still goes through, they might look at another company like Sega and still look, we need that, that Japanese, that Asian type of flavor in our stables, because I would say that if you look at the portfolio that Microsoft has, they don't really have a whole lot of homegrown stuff in their company that would appeal to like a Japanese or anything really much in that side of the world. I think that's the biggest appeal here is there's a lot of people like such as myself that love these type of games, but I think Sega, and I've said this multiple times, will give them a little bit more room when it comes to getting in people's tablets or getting in people's cloud computing on their phones because they have the games that appeal to more of those people. If they're able to get like a Persona 6 in Game Pass day and date, I would say that they should really push for like an exclusivity on Persona if they buy Sega, because I know that it was rumored that if they did buy them, they're going to keep the multiplat. I don't think that probably would have been everything, but some of the games probably would have stayed multiplat. But Microsoft needs to be aggressive in this market. So if they did get Sega, don't share that with other people, man. There's going to be certain games like that soccer game or football game. I can't remember which one it is. You probably make that a multi-plat. But when it comes to games that can actually give your console a little bit more of an identity, like Persona or Yakuza, especially the new Like a Dragon, stick with that, make that on your platform only. And I think that's probably what would have happened eventually. I don't know if Phil Spencer and everyone, when they were talking about making Sega games multi-plat, I don't know if it was just everything or just some things. Because even the Activision deal, if you listen to that Jim Ryan interview, or the Jim Ryan back and forth that he was on the stand. He even said in the interviews when he was talking to Phil that it wasn't just all Activision games. It was just some of them. Because apparently Overwatch wasn't on that list. Now, Overwatch 2 did come to PlayStation 5. But I think just the fact that they're not willing to come out openly and say all Activision games speaks louder than us just saying that. It's curious. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, man. This FTC versus Xbox thing has been amazing. And, you know, it kind of makes it worth having to talk about this damn Activision, Blizzard, and King acquisition for like the past year and a half, because I feel like there's a lot of content here to talk about, especially this week. This week been lit. This week's almost made the whole time worth it. Almost. Still get annoyed when I have to talk about it over and over again. But I'm kind of curious to hear your guys' opinion. Do you think Sega is going to get bought after this deal? I think there's still a really good chance. Like, I really do. I don't think Microsoft stopped looking at these companies. If anything, maybe they started having open conversations with other companies, and just other, you know, acquisition potentially got put lower on the totem pole. But once they buy Activision, I feel like they can only look at these smaller companies. They can't look at, you know, the Ubisofts or the EAs. They have to look at smaller publishers. And I think that Sega would be a very good buy, not only for logistic wise, for perception wise, but for their portfolio in general, because they would have a lot more variety on Game Pass to get more and more people to join the service. But anyway, like I said, put in the comment section below what you guys feel about the matter. I'm very curious to hear your guys' opinion. Tell me if you think Microsoft should buy Sega or not. I know I've probably made like 3 of these videos, but now we got the legit proof in our hands. But anyway, appreciate it for coming through. This is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.